A private jet has crashed in North Carolina, and the local sheriff says
Yes, a
several
private jet has crashed.
people have been killed. This happened as the small plane was landing at the Statesville Regional Airport around 10:30 a.m. local time. A witness capturing that video there
Witness captured that same video of private jet crashes in North Carolina. Multiple deaths reported.
moments after the impact. It appears to show where the plane skidded across the ground.
With us now, CNN transportation analyst Mary Schiavo, who served as an inspector general at the Transportation Department, and
Yes, yes.
CNN aviation correspondent Pete Montine. Pete, first to you, what are you learning? Well, this
Aviation exploded. Ex-NASCAR driver among 7 killed.
is a very active and fluid situation right now, and we're getting more information all the time here from Bill Hamby at the Iredell County Sheriff's Department. He says that there were fatalities on board the small private
Aviation correspondent is.
jet that crashed at the Statesville County
This is the one people just get
Airport,
it.
the Statesville Airport in North Carolina, about 3 miles southwest of the town there, 40 miles north of Charlotte, just west of Raleigh. This happened at 10:06 a.m. local time,
10:06 a.m. local time.
according to the flight track from FlightAware.
Poor visibility in area and plane was landing drizzle and low clouds.
And this flight appeared doomed from the start. A Cessna Citation jet seats between about 6 and 8 people, only made it about 2,000 feet above the ground.
You can see this is how they landed.
You can see the flight track of the plane departing on runway 10 there to the east, turning towards the southwest, and then only about
He just right here on to their just landing, but he just take this route to land.
4 minutes into this flight, the plane making a beeline almost straight back to the airport. Something was clearly very wrong here, and attempting to land there back at the Statesville Airport. This plane was very clearly on fire as it made it back to the airport. And
The private jet same like this.
some video shows skid marks on the road outside the perimeter of the airport. So a lot for investigators to put together here. The Federal
Yes, investigators have so many things to put together.
Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board will investigate this. We do know there have been fatalities involved, and a federal source tells
Yes,
me that somebody associated with NASCAR was on board
ex-NASCAR driver is
this
killed.
plane. Remember, not far outside of Charlotte, very small and tight-knit community. The NASCAR world hit time and time again by fatal plane crashes. Dale Earnhardt
Yes,
Jr. escaped with his life from a plane crash involving a private
there are so many officers right there, police and everyone.
jet similar to this one back in 2019. So this is something that this community is not unfamiliar with. So many people now watching to see who exactly was involved in this crash. A lot of intrigue
Yes.
here, although still very scant basic details
Which NASCAR driver is there? Biffle, Greg Biffle plane is crashed
coming out
right there.
as we're just getting video from the scene of this crash that occurred around 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
10 a.m. standards in 10:06 really.
Of course, a lot of questions here about how this occurred and if there was an emergency on takeoff or immediately after takeoff that necessitated this plane to come back almost right away. It sounds like this may have also been impacted by the weather here as well. Not
Yes, weather impact is also the main culprit.
late the time of this crash. Some rain was moving in, low cloud ceilings, poor visibility. Of course, the National Transportation Safety Board will look at the airplane, the pilot, and the environment as this all is unfolding right now in Iredell County, North Carolina, Statesville Regional Airport there.
Yes, County, North Carolina.
Mary, tell us what you're seeing in this
Stateville.
news.
Well, what I'm seeing is obviously, based on the videos, of course, it does not appear to be a survivor.
Yes, what people are saying NASCAR driver Greg Biffle, his wife, and their 2 children were killed in a plane crash. RIP. Rest in peace to all in all this. Greg lived in my town. My father and brother both knew him, and we are just absolutely heartbroken. Greg Biffle and his entire family. So sad. Rest in peace to NASCAR legend, Hurricane Helen hero Greg Biffle and his family.
Survivable crash. I did check some online flight tracking websites, and this plane had filed flight plans.
This is 1:04 p.m. The news is reporting right now, and 10:06 is the
Several
main
flights
thing.
later in the day. It was going to go to Fort Lauderdale. It was going to go to the Bahamas. It was later in the day, then going to make about 3 or 4 stops. It was going to then return to Statesville. So it is possible this was just the beginning of the trip to pick up people, which would mean that some of those seats were empty. We can hope, and then
All right, some of us and see they are just picking up people.
otherwise, if it was returning people, that would make a difference too. But online flight tracking websites do have several flights were planned for the day. But with this kind of a fireball, obviously that usually a fire makes a difference between survivability and non-survivability.
This type of private plane we are talking about, this type of private jet.
Yeah, important to have that context as we look at video from the scene. Pete, this is a Cessna C550. Talk to us about the track record of that kind of plane and its safety record. More commonly known as a citation jet, it's very easy to fly. It has a straight wing, which makes it very similar to other airplanes in the Cessna line. This airplane, 41 years old. These business
Yes, 41 years old. Praise Acosta with NASCAR was on plane that crashed.
jets are aging, and so they're easy to acquire, relatively cheap to buy, but because they're getting old, they can be expensive to maintain. So, of course, the National
Yes, expensive to maintain. If the maintenance is not really is the case right here, what can be?
Transportation Safety Board will look at the maintenance records of this airplane required by the Federal Aviation Administration for everybody to keep meticulous records, not
Happening in a regional airport with no control tower, that can be a reason for it.
only of the airplane, but also of the experience of the pilots. The citation does have sort of a spotty history because so many people can get into them so easily, you can buy them so easily, that it does sort of have a varied track record when it comes to crashes. Not necessarily a problem with the plane per se, although it's something that the investigators will look at here. Of course, they'll want to dig into the maintenance records of the
Yes, I think don't can cause it.
plane, especially
Maintenance
considering the
or
fact
something
that the
else.
flight track is already telling us a story of what appears to be a problem right off the bat.
Mary, what are investigators going to be looking for here?
Well, first and foremost, they're going to look at the maintenance record of this plane, in addition to the weather, as Pete said. That's always a concern. But they're going to look at the maintenance records because while it is a 1981 plane, just as Pete said, it had some major work done in 1999, and then there were some certificate changes just this year. So the investigators are going to want to be looking at what was done to the plane, what
Yes, is what is the standard? Standards some match advisory legally and everything.
maintenance records show, the fueling, who was flying, the experience, just everything that they can find on the paper. And that will give them a lot of clues, especially since we already know there was a report of an engine problem. So usually they look to the last maintenance and the last time that these engines were worked on. And it's really surprising how many cases I've worked at crashes where an accident
Yeah, so what are your thoughts into this, guys? RIP to the Greg Biffle and his whole family, wife, 2 children, and more.